the politics and the ideology and all the conflict, it's divided people.
We want our monuments left alone.
We are being pushed around by the federal government.
Today I'm signing a new executive order to end another egregious abuse of federal power.
Beefy, are you going to visit with the tribe more?
Nice.
I'm so nice.
Be nice.
We want this land to survive.
I'm driving through the gorgeous, sprawling landscape of Bears Ears National Monument in southeast Utah. But I'm not here for the views. I'm here because what's happening in Bears Ears may define the future of public land in America. So how do you feel about this designation of Bears Ears as a national monument?
It's done by our enemies. It's done by our foes. And all the narrative about it is that we're looters, we're grave robbers, we're racists, we hate the federal government, we hate public land, and that's wrong.
There's a fight brewing in the West over who controls public land and who profits from it, revealing America's deep divisions over wealth, race, and ideology.
Save our monument!
Bears Ears is emerging as the defining battle. At the end of his presidency, Obama used the 1906 law called the Antiquities Act to create the new national monument. But just after taking office, President Trump ordered a review of all large national monuments designated since 1996.
The federal government asserted this power over 1.35 million acres of land in Utah, known as Bears Ears.
The review covers all monuments going back to the Clinton administration and could open up America's most beloved monuments to development and extraction industries. Some even worry national parks could follow.
We could have oil and gas development and protect places like Bears Ears. But in this ideology age of nobody listens to anybody, it's hard to have those good conversations.
The lines are drawn in this Western standoff, with pro-monument groups like environmentalists, the outdoor industry, Native Americans, and archaeologists, while those standing against the monument include local politicians, hunters and trappers, mining and oil industries, and now the Trump administration.
The Antiquities Act does not give the federal government unlimited power to lock up millions of acres of land and water, and it's time we ended this abusive practice.
Trump left the details to his newly appointed Interior Secretary, Ryan Zinke, tasked with reviewing 27 national monuments in just 120 days.
This is the first time that a president has ever commissioned or signed an executive order to review. And President Trump, who is a great boss to work for, by the way, President Trump has tasked me to review monuments.
Sworn in on March 1st, Zinke announced he would head to Utah to determine the fate of Bears Ears. With issues of race, ideology, and the economy on the line, the people of Utah anxiously awaited his arrival.
We love tourism. We welcome people, but the things that keeps the schools funded and the county funded and growth is really the extraction industry.
For Lyman and other politicians in Utah, the feds have been an unwelcome landlord for decades.
We are being pushed around by the federal government, yeah, and we're not oblivious to it. Like I say, even a dog distinguishes between being tripped over and being kicked, and we're being kicked by the federal government.
Today, 93% of federal land is in 13 western states, accounting for nearly half the land. In Oregon, more than half is federal. In Nevada, it's more than 80%. In Utah, 64.5% is federal, another 5% is tribal, and 10% is controlled by the state. Given this, it's easy to see why some people are concerned with federal land control. In the West, protests against the federal government over public land issues have turned violent in recent years. In 2014, a dispute over cattle grazing fees escalated into an armed standoff between federal law enforcement and those supporting rancher Cliven Bundy.
If I were Cliven, and I like him, I like his spirit, his spunk, and I like the people that, they're so loyal. I do like him, I respect him. He ought to go and cut a good deal right now. That's the best thing that could happen for everybody.
And in 2016, armed militants led by Cliven's son Eamon seized a wildlife refuge in Oregon over a ranching dispute on public land.
Take a guy like Ammon Bundy, who says, this doesn't sit well with me. I don't think I can face my maker at the end of this probation not having done something. So in that way, I feel exactly the same.
Lyman garnered national attention for an ATV protest ride just outside of Bears Ears. He was sentenced to 10 days in jail for the stunt.
The ATV ride, May 2014, in Recapture Canyon near Blanding, protesting the BLM's closure of a trail to vehicles to preserve archaeology.
My conscience approves my conduct.
Phil Lyman then, and after sentencing Friday.
After my prosecution and going to jail, I said, I don't have anything against the BLM employees. I think they're good people. But there's a culture there. There's a culture of kind of imperialism. It's a domination thing, and people historically don't put up with that for very long.
Numerous Native American groups spoke out against the ATV ride, arguing it disturbed ancestral archaeological sites and played into a long hostile racial history in the area. The Navajo Nation sued the county in 2011 over racially motivated redistricting, and again in 2016 over claims of violations of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. There was even a local disinformation campaign using fake posters to make environmentalists seem racist. Do you think there's hints of racism in the way that this is playing out?
Well, if you're raised around here, you'll know that's the way it is.
I met up with a Navajo Nation spiritual leader named Jonah Yellowman and asked him how it feels to know that Bears Ears might be rescinded.
I sit down and it makes me wary. Why? How come they're trying to do this? Like I said, is it because we're native?
After having been invited to the table during the Obama administration, a reversal would be a slap in the face.
The first time ever, as native, our voice has been heard. People say, "There's nothing out there. What are you crying about that? What are you arguing about that land for? There's nothing out there. There is something out there. It's so spiritual out there, So when you go back that way, you're going to see that."
2 months after his swearing in, Zinke still hadn't arrived, and locals in support of the monument were getting suspicious. Even more concerning were recent pushes to cede federal lands to state control, and possibly sell them off to the highest bidder. Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz faced an outcry after proposing just that earlier this year.
What we're trying to do is find a balanced approach. You have outdoor recreationists, you have conservation needs, you have energy development, you have a whole host of needs.
The reality is we can have our cake and eat it too. We can have recreation and we can have oil and gas development. We just need to do it in the right places. Like, you don't do oil and gas development in places that are going to ruin your tourism economy.
Josh Ewing is executive director of a nonprofit organization that lobbied for the monument. He was driven in part by a passion for climbing.
This is a world-famous place for recreation, and the outdoor industry doesn't want to see that become industrialized.
For outdoor companies dependent on public land for recreation, the issue has become heated and political.
It's official. After 2 decades, the Outdoor Retailer Show leaving the state of Utah.
The outdoor industry has been doing the Outdoor Retailer Show for almost 20 years up in Salt Lake City, brings something like $50 million a year to the Utah economy. And because of the state's insistence to undo the Bears Ears National Monument, outdoor industry decided to move to a state that's more friendly toward public lands.
The governor's office releasing a statement tonight about an hour ago, calling the decision offensive.
For many who grew up in the area, it has always felt like the Old West. They hunted where they wanted, bulldozed new roads, camped wherever. But now their backyard has become more crowded.
It's public land, it's for everybody. It's not the government land, it's a public land to enjoy. The land of many uses. The use of it's what's God put here to do, like the uranium and the oil and stuff. It's here for a reason.
One local opposed to the monument is Punk Holiday, who says the designation could seriously affect his construction business.
We have gravel pits, and 3 of our main gravel pits are in the monument.
He often uses the land to hunt, and I tagged along one morning as he drove the back roads looking for mountain lion tracks.
We're a couple days behind it.
Okay. This road right here will take you. You'll hit the other road up there, but they'll do away with this road in a monument.
Yeah. What sort of guns are you using?
Usually it's 22 pistols.
Really?
That's what I always pack.
Pistol?
Yeah.
The dogs caught the scent of a mountain lion in late morning.
That lion sitting over there in the tree. You can't even see it. Sprawled out across there. Let's do it. Want to try it? Yeah. We got 3 shots. When we go to shoot it, they will just turn the cameras off. Because some of these animal rights people, they get a little upset when they see it. So.
Punk is worried hunting could be banned, along with other local uses of the land, like cutting trees for firewood and camping. Not to mention the direct effect on his business.
My belief is that a lot of local folks that have been here for a long time, they felt like it was their own personal backyard because no one else was around.
Native Americans have also been concerned that traditional uses of the land, like collecting herbs or cutting firewood, could be curtailed.
Before they go hunting, they go sweat lodge. Sweat lodge right here.
Traditional practices were guaranteed in the presidential proclamation. And in a historic first, Obama established a tribal commission to help manage the land.
This Bears Ears National Monument is the first time a union of tribes have come together, set aside their differences, and asked the federal government to protect their lands, and got listened to. Like the top guy in the land said, you know what, that's probably a good point. We know we kicked you off these lands. We know that they're important to you. Maybe we ought to listen to you and protect them. And now folks are saying, you know what, we don't care if that land's important to you. We don't care if it's sacred to you. We want it unprotected. And to me, that's really sad.
For the Native American tribes in the region, the National Monument is a sacred landscape, full of ancient burial sites, homes, and sweat lodges.
It's been preserved now for generations to come. That's what we did now. Before that, you know, there was looting going on, there was desecrating, there was target practicing on these picture cliffs.
Kevin Jones, Utah's former state archaeologist, told me looting has been a major problem. Artifacts found on private land are fair game, so it can be hard to trace what was taken off public land.
There is rarely a sheltered site, like a rock shelter or cave site, that hasn't been significantly plundered. Ancient people who lived here made beautiful bowls and pots, baskets, and those things can be very, very valuable to collectors and others, and unfortunately.
I asked Punk Holiday what he thought about the local tradition of pot hunting.
My parents' house was raided, and my dad and his uncle have probably one of the biggest collections around. A lot of it, probably majority of it was on private property there around Blanding, where they used to dig and find the stuff.
Before Zinke came to Utah, he had a private meeting with the local county commissioners in Washington, D.C. Tribal leaders came to D.C. as well, but he refused to meet with them. With no response from Zinke, pro-monument groups organized a protest rally before he even arrived.
We want our monuments left alone, not just Bears Ears and Grand Staircase, but every monument across the country.
When Zinke finally flew down to see Bears Ears for the first time, protests followed, and Native American leaders were left outside.
Even right now, a lot of people are being turned away over here at the road, and a lot of presence of the police, and it's just the way the county has treated Navajo.
Secretary Zinke did finally meet with tribal leaders in Utah, but it only lasted for 1 hour. Afterward, he held a press conference without them, as protesters chanted on the streets below.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Secretary. Thank you for coming down here and talking to us. The overwhelming majority of Native Americans that we've spoken to down in the area are adamantly opposed to the monument being rescinded. And they say that if it happens, it's yet another example of their rights and their sovereignty being trampled. How do you respond to that?
There is some distrust of previous efforts that the tribe, and tribes in this case, aren't heard. Remarkably, that's the same argument I hear from many counties and many elected officials that the federal government, by and large, has not heard the local voice.
The Hopi tribe, Navajo Nation, Ute Mountain Ute tribe, Pueblo of Zuni, and Ute Indian tribe spent years lobbying for the monument. With Zinke overseeing the Bureau of Indian Affairs, his unwillingness to give priority to sovereign Native American tribes came off as particularly insulting.
Here at the Bears Ears National Monument, where a lot of activists and protesters have gathered in defense of the National Monument. As you can see, press are here. Looks like Zinke just pulled up.
Here, we'll have press available.
Zinke, is there a reason why you're not listening to tribal leaders?
I think there's tribal leaders. How are you?
It's kind of unfair that you've only met with them for 1 hour, sir. Is there a reason why you're not listening to them more?
Yeah, and I'm for Bears Ears.
Nice to see you.
National Monument.
Zinke, are you going to visit with the tribes more?
Nice.
I'm so nice.
Be nice.
Oh, okay.
Don't be rude. Thank you.
I'm asking you a simple question, sir.
We're all nice and we all love public lands. Absolutely.
You had a brief interaction with the secretary. Do you want to tell us what happened with that?
I was scared. I was scared when he came at me.
Afterward, I spoke with Jonah Yellowman again. Do you feel like Secretary Zinke is making an effort to talk to Native groups and try to understand where they're coming from?
We want him to come out and listen to the natives themselves. Go down with us. Go down to where we live. And look at that land, where we do our offerings, where we do our prayers, what we use, for medicine, and all the beautiness that's out there. And listen to my people, my elders. They've been living there. We use that land. We are the first users of that land. That's what I wanted to tell them.
Hey, this is Danny Gold with AJ+. You can check out the rest of our Divided America series, where we examine the tech elite embracing the prepper movement, refugees fleeing the US for Canada, the battle over land rights in America, and the attempt to defund Planned Parenthood right now on the AJ+ YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.